Hello, all of my Recipe for Success followers. Well, today we woke up to a beautiful snowy morning. We have about 3 inches of snow here on the ground, and it's a big, heavy, wet snow. So I thought a great way to be able to enjoy the snow today is to make a big pot of potato soup. So I don't know if you've ever made potato soup, but it's a really hearty soup. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this recipe and show you how to make potato soup today. So what I've already done is I have browned into my Dutch oven here on the stove a pound of bacon. So I'm going to actually double this recipe, but for the demo here today. But if you were doing this just for your family, I would recommend only a half a pound of bacon. So what I've done in my Dutch oven is I've actually browned the bacon, removed it from the Dutch oven, and left all that bacon grease and drippings in that into the bottom of the Dutch oven. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a medium onion. I actually used a large onion since I'm doubling this recipe. So I'm going to take that onion and I'm going to, on medium heat, saute that onion in those bacon drippings for about 3 to 4 minutes and get them translucent and cooked through. Actually, the kitchen smells really good with all this bacon and onion cooking. Turn on my exhaust here to pull some of that steam out. After I let the onions cook for a little while, I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons of minced garlic. I'll make sure that I put the recipe up at the beginning of this video so you can write all the ingredients down. So I've had my onions in here and they're getting cooked. Just stirring them around. Let me tell you some of the other ingredients as I'm letting the onions saute. You will need a half a stick of butter. I am using unsalted butter, but you can use salted butter. You can always add more salt to your soup based on your preference. You will also need 2 pounds of potatoes. I'm using approximately 3.5 pounds of potatoes, 2 cups of milk, and 4 cups of chicken broth. Now you can use chicken broth and vegetable broth, just 2 cups of each if you were going to split and use both kinds. You will also need 4 ounces of heavy cream or half and half, and you'll also need 1/3 cup of flour, and salt and pepper to taste. So my onions are translucent, so I'm now going to put in my garlic. I'm using the canned, already pre-minced garlic, and I'm putting in, the recipe calls for 3 cloves, but I'm actually putting in about 4 to 5 because I'm doubling it. And a teaspoon always represents 1 clove of garlic, minced. So I'm going to go ahead and let that cook for a while, approximately 3 to 4 minutes, and then I'll come back and we'll show you what we're going to be doing next. Okay. So my onions have cooked here for about 3 to 5 minutes, and my garlic, and it is now translucent in my Dutch oven. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my butter and let that melt. Mix it around in there. I'm cooking this on medium heat. This soup is really a hearty soup. I don't know if you've had potato soup, but it's almost like a stuffed potato because we're going to use some cheddar cheese and bacon and sprinkle on the top of this after it is cooked. So what I have here is I have the drippings from the bacon, I have the onion and the garlic, and I added the butter, and it is now almost completely melted into my mixture here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my flour. The flour is going to be a thickening agent for my soup. Go ahead and mix that around in there. To burn the flour off, I'm going to cook it for just a couple minutes to cook off the flour taste before I add the rest of my ingredients. I scraped the bottom of my Dutch oven to get all of those bacon drippings, all those cooked drippings into my actual oil, my bacon grease. Gives the soup a great taste, great flavor, and it also helps with the salt, so that if you don't want to add a lot more salt, the bacon grease will actually flavor the soup for you. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my milk to this mixture. And my potatoes into the mixture. Turn my stove up a little to medium high just to get this started cooking. After the soup will cook for approximately 60 minutes, simmer on a medium heat for about 60 minutes. Put the rest of the potatoes in there. Since I doubled this batch, I had to use a plastic container to get all of them in there. I store my potatoes in my pantry in a plastic container that enables them to stay fresher longer. I'm going to add my chicken broth. I always heat my chicken broth up. Add that to my mixture. Now, you can use half chicken broth or you can use half vegetable broth. I'm using half vegetable broth and half chicken broth in this recipe. Stir that around. Get everything mixed up well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the half and half. You can use heavy cream if you would like. I should have had this open before we started here. Just give me a few minutes, a few seconds to get this open. I'm going to use half and half, about 8 ounces. This is a 16 ounce, so I'm going to use half of it since I'm doubling my recipe. One teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, to start out with. We can always add more later. Stir this around. And we're going to let this cook and simmer on the stovetop for about an hour, and about an hour I'll come back and I'll show you what we have. Okay, so our potato soup has been simmering here on medium heat for about an hour. So I occasionally stirred it. So I'm going to open the lid here and let you see what your product should look like. As you can see, we have a really rich, creamy broth here, and we have our potatoes. Let me show you a way to test this to make sure that you know that it's done. If you take your potatoes and if you just take them with your spoon and they are tender, then your soup is absolutely finished, and you can take it off the heat or leave it on the stove and just let it sit in the pot and continue to warm. Now what I always do is I transfer this over to a crock pot and then leave it on warm in my crock pot, and people can, the family can come and eat whenever they want a bowl. So let me just show you how you would serve this. And also another way, if you do not like the chunk potatoes in your soup, if you like a more creamier soup, you can take an immersion blender or take your potatoes out and puree them in a blender and then bring them back to your soup bowl or in your crock pot. But I like to keep the soup with big chunks of potatoes so that you know what you're eating, and it almost resembles, when you serve it up, a baked potato. So let me just go ahead and show you what I do in regards to preparing this, a bowl of this. So I'm going to add some cheddar cheese to the top. All baked potatoes have cheese. And remember the bacon that I sauteed and browned? I'm going to add that to the top. And I'm going to take some sour cream. If you don't like sour cream, and that's a bowl of potato soup, loaded potato soup. Remember, if you enjoyed this recipe, continue to like, follow, and share the recipes. You can also see my videos on Facebook and on YouTube. So remember either to like, share, and follow, or subscribe to my page. Hope you enjoy this soup. Thanks for watching.